So the seventh chapter, as you all know, is the beginning of the Bhakti Yoga section of the Bhagavad Gita, and these chapters or set of chapters are Krishna making himself accessible. So in the previous 6 chapters he mostly talked about us. He mostly talked about the jiva, and he talked about the impediments that are typical in a jiva's journey for spiritual realization, primarily being false ego, the desire to enjoy. And Krishna suggested different remedies, whether it's in karma or jnana or astang, how to get over this obstacle. Now he begins talking about himself, and we had discussed the first verse. We'll discuss it again for continuity. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free of doubt." So Krishna speaks about if somebody were to know about Krishna, what would be the process that they would follow. And the process that he explains is clearly a descending process. So if you'll note, he doesn't say that read the scriptures scrutinizingly, analyze the Upanishads, read the Nyaya, become a Sanskrit scholar. He doesn't speak about that. He basically talks about one's mind being focused on Krishna. So the general understanding is when something is beyond our senses, then the only way that we can access is when that something makes itself accessible. And that is what Krishna is recommending, that the way to know me is through me. That when you worship me, when you follow one of the nine types of devotional service, Shravan, Kirtan, Smaran, Vandan, Padi Sevan, Das, Pujan, Sakhijan, Atma Nivedan. So these are the 9 forms of devotional service, and the most potent of them is Shravan, which is hearing. So when one engages in the process of Shravan, whether it is hearing Krishna's holy name, Kirtan, chanting of his holy name, Smaran, meditating upon it, Padi Sevan is worshipping the lotus feet of Krishna, also means worshipping Krishna through your feet. So things like doing parikramas, going to the holy places, traveling to the various rivers to take baths. So Padi Sevan. Dasya is in the mood of servitorship. Sakhijan is in the mood of friendship. And Atma Nivedan is surrendering everything to Krishna.
I'm saying if you ask Keshav this, he'll give you all the 9 processes of devotional service.
Okay, Keshav, what are the 9 processes of devotional service?
Prahlad.
So you must have memorized this for the Narsingadev play.
Yeah, it was Prahlad telling, right? His father.
Prahlad telling.
He's forgotten?
He's trying to remember. It will probably come back. So Prabhupada in the purport mentions that for us the most potent is Shravan. That for this day and age, and for any time, he says Shravan or hearing, because it's very easily accessible, and it also forms the foundation of our other angas of bhakti. So in the second verse, Krishna says, "I shall declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know." So Krishna is following through the promise that he made in the first verse, that to know me, surrender unto me. So he is saying that, okay, surrender your hearing process to me. So the first anga of surrender is surrendering your hearing process. So he is saying that now that you are listening to what I am saying, let me tell you everything about me. So Krishna says, I will tell you both phenomenal and numinous. So phenomenal is Gyan and numinous is Vigyan. So there are two kinds of knowledge. Gyan is academic knowledge. So Gyan is knowing that Krishna is great. Vigyan is experiencing the greatness of Krishna. Gyan is knowing Krishna is all-pervasive. Vigyan is experiencing Krishna everywhere and in everything. Gyan is knowing that Krishna is the protector of everybody. Vigyan is feeling that protection. So it's the difference between intellectual and experiential. So that is why Krishna says, I'll tell you both. So you will also know who I am, you will also experience me. Because the Jnanis and the Karma Yogis, the Jnanis, they are able to reach the Jnana stage. They are able to know more about Krishna. Nobody can understand Krishna fully because he is who he is. He is God. But they can make progress in that path. But only the devotees, they can experience Krishna. They can experience the love of Krishna. They can experience the protection of Krishna. They can experience Krishna's presence everywhere. A devotee was once sharing with me that he was driving in the car with another senior devotee, Prabhupada disciple, and he mentioned that looks like it's going to rain. And so the senior devotee, he looked outside the window, and so there were rain-laden clouds, dark clouds. And then he says, that's how Krishna's body color probably is. And then he had this realization that both of them were seeing the same thing but different things. He was seeing clouds that were going to rain, and the other person was seeing an aspect of Krishna in them. So and we see that in our own lives, that as we make more and more advancement, we actually begin to experience the presence of Krishna more. When good things are happening, we say, thank you, Krishna. We see Krishna's hand in the good things that are happening. When things are not going our way, then we say, Krishna, I'm here, take care of me, protect me. Or we say, even then, thank you, Krishna, that some karma that I had done in my previous life is now burnt away. One less thing for me to worry about. So in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it said that as we make devotional advancement, then we have so much of karma from our previous lives that would weigh us down. Krishna gives us token reactions for them to burn away the karma. So the karma may entail on a scale of 1 to 100, maybe 50. Krishna will give us 0.5. So he gives us a token reaction, and even that he gives us in a way that it purifies us and it attracts us closer to him. So Prabhupada would say that when you face some adversities, when you think of it in this way, that this is something that I am getting for my benefit, and that's the difference between the conception of a devotee and a person who is not anchored in the process of bhakti. Because in the current part, Krishna himself, he discourages this kind of thoughts. He says that if something bad is happening to you, it's happening because of you. I have nothing to do with it. Because he does not want people to become fatalistic. He does not want people to absolve themselves of responsibilities. He says, Nadate kaschit papam na cheva sukritam vidu agyane avritam gyana tena moyanti jantava. He says, Nadate kaschit papam, that I'm not responsible for the sinful reactions. Na cheve sukritam vidu, nor am I responsible for anybody's pious reactions. And nadate kaschit papam na cheve sukritam vidu, agyane avratam jnana, tena moyanti chantava. The people who say that I am responsible, agyan, that they are in ignorance, and because of that, tena moyanti, moha. Because of that, they're always bewildered. So he's categorically making this, that everything that's happening to you is because of you. But if you notice, he uses two kinds of activities. He says pious. He says, I'm not responsible for pious activities, nor am I responsible for impious activities. But he excludes one kind of activities in the verse, which is bhakti, because he is responsible for it. So as long as one is in the material realm, one is enjoying and suffering their own reactions. Everything that is happening to them is because of them. So there is no one else that is in play over here. Once a person becomes a devotee, then the whole equation changes. In fact, Krishna goes to the other extreme, and he says that it's in the 9th chapter, I forget the verse, but he says, api chet sudurachara bhajate mam ananya bhag sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasita hisa. He says, api chet sudurachara. So durachara is bad person. Achar is how a person conducts himself. Durachara is bad. Api chet sudurachara. So su is an amplification in Sanskrit. So bad person, sudurachara, really bad person. So api chet sudurachara bhajate mam ananya bhag. But if he is my devotee, sadhureva samantavya, should consider him to be a sadhu, right? And because I consider him to be a sadhu. So when a person becomes a devotee of Krishna, then Krishna becomes very affectionate. Now, of course, it does not mean that you become a devotee and you start doing like sinful activities, right? But the affection of Krishna is so strong that from within he will inspire you to steer away from impious activities, right? So Krishna in this set of verses is going to explain to Arjun how he can understand him and how he can experience him. Next verse. So this is a famous verse, Manushanam Sahasretu Kaschid Yatati Siddhaya Yadatam Api Siddhanam Kaschid Mam Veti Tattvataha. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So even though Krishna is making this information available openly, he is also saying that a very, very rare person will actually avail of this information. So Bhagavad Gita is considered to be one of the most confidential knowledge that is openly available. So it is not guarded by the person who spoke it. It is guarded by the people who receive it. So if you put a valuable jewel outside, but nobody is interested in taking it, the jewel is automatically protected. So the Gita as a jewel is available for everybody, but Krishna is saying Manushanam Sahasretu, that he says out of millions of souls, one soul will get the human form of body. So that is very, very rare. Most of the human beings are impious by nature. Very, very few of them are pious. And their piety will be in terms of karma kand. So their piety will be to give in charity, to do service, to help out others. So that will be the predominant mode of piety. Out of thousands of such persons, one person will look for perfection. Such person will look for perfection in either Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Astanga Yoga. And out of thousands of such persons, one person will be yogi nam api sarvesham madgatina antarapna. One person will become a devotee. So Krishna is making this cascading filters to show the rarity of bhakti. That so many souls are there in this universe. Very few of them get the human form of life. So many of them are impious. Very few of them will become pious. Most of the people who are pious will be materialistically pious. The others will be basically going after siddhis or mukti, and very, very few person will go after devotion. So this is in a way to encourage us, because if you are reading the Bhagavad Gita, then we are one of those few souls that is at least aspiring to know Krishna better. So it's there to encourage us. It is also there to remind us that the only way we could have reached this point is through mercy. Because one may think that so many souls, after you apply all the filters, what did I do to come to this point? So important to understand, we didn't do anything. What we have to do remains to be done. But we reached this point through mercy. In another composition by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur called Madhuri Kadamni, he talks about this mercy component. That this is the component that actually makes the distinction between the soul at this point and all the other souls. And that is why he says it's very important for us to give the mercy that we have gotten. So if each one of us were to sit and close our eyes and trace back our spiritual life, at some point there is somebody that came and inspired us to take to Krishna consciousness. There is somebody who said, can you do this? Can you make this effort? Would you like to know more about it? And maybe that transaction was a few minutes and it got over. After that, we never saw the person again, but it stayed in our heart. The Bhakti Lata Beej was already planted in our heart, waiting for it to germinate. And just like we have received this mercy, we should also give it wherever possible. So now Krishna starts speaking about himself. Yes, Prabhu.
So, why is it so, Prabhu, that this is such a good thing to do and it's so rare, and mercy is there and we just have to seek it? Still, is it to do with the yoga? Was it better? Is it going low? Why is it so?
Maybe a little bit to do with the fact that it's Kali Yuga, but it's more to do with the nature of the jiva. That it's kind of like, you go to a prison house and you say, find me one person who is moral, who has good character, who likes to do the right thing. There will be some people there, but they will be in the very small minority over there. So the reason why we are here is what is stopping us. The reason why we are here is because we are bahimukhi. We are facing the direction opposite to Krishna. So Krishna is over here, so we are looking over there. Then Krishna comes over there, we start looking over there. Krishna comes over here, then we start looking over there. Very instinctive in us. So that is why the point is made that bhakti is actually given. Right? So if in Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami gives this analogy that if a person is possessed by a spirit, then you can go to the person and say that you expunge the spirit from your body. But he won't be able to do it because he's already possessed by the spirit. Right? So how can it be done? He says you get a person who is expert in doing it, and they will chant the mantras by which the spirit will get expunged. So just like a person who is diseased, even if he is a doctor, will go to a doctor, right, to get somebody. So that is why we are in this disease stage where we are not able to understand our constitutional position. And how do we get out of it? Is if we are fortunate to come in contact with a bona fide practitioner, and then he gives the knowledge. Now again, there is always the mercy is also combined with endeavor, right? Because there are so many people who are getting the mercy, but out of that 100 people, one person might take it. So that is where the jiva's free will comes. That Prabhupada would speak in pandals to 10,000 people. After that, maybe 10 people would come and follow up with Prabhupada. Everybody was hearing. More specifically, in the later verses, Krishna answers this question from a more analytic perspective. That why do jivas don't take to him? So, just a few verses down, we'll talk about it.
On that point, I always actually think of the last verse of chapter 3, where Krishna talks about how there is lust and how the laws of material nature kick in all the time, but it is the will that will help you progress.
Yeah.
So isn't that again we are all swayed away by lust and that's why we don't accept the mercy, but then it is the will that our will to focus
will make the difference. Yeah. So actually, so you're stealing Krishna's thunder over here. So Krishna later on he says that because of the influence of the modes of material nature, the jivas will not take to the mercy, even though it is abundantly available. So in terms of devotional advancement, so there is sadhana siddh. So sadhana siddh is that somebody comes to me and says, make advancements, and I get convinced, and then I start trying to do that. So sadhana, I chant, I read a little bit, do deity worship. Now there is another kind that is called kripa siddh. So kripa siddh is like I'm a really gone person. Somebody comes and says, from tomorrow you're a devotee. So based on the person's mercy, complete absolute mercy, like in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jagai Madhai, they were like really fallen people. They were stealing, intoxication, everything. And Mahaprabhu said that from this very moment, you are devotees. And not just devotees, he said you are pure devotees. And from that very moment, they could not stop chanting Krishna's name. So, if the person who's giving the mercy has that capability, then yes, they can. Prabhupada did that. That people would come to him and they had they were on drugs or they were on intoxication, and then Prabhupada would we would just say, just give it up. And now there is a lot of very senior Prabhupada disciples who are beginning to, because they are also getting on in years, so they're beginning to write their experiences with Prabhupada, and it's very interesting to read it, to see that Prabhupada says just give it up, and the person walked away saying, how can I give it up? But they were not able to do it after that. They were not able to take the intoxication. They were not able to just the mercy, and that's why they came back to Prabhupada. Something he said made a difference in them. So it's a combination of mercy. Effort is also to be there. Prabhupada would say that relying on mercy is like waiting for the lottery ticket. Some person will get it, but the probability of you getting it is fairly low. Or he would say, another example he would give is like many people who are like very renowned, they get honorary degrees, they get an honorary PhD. It's like some person saying, I won't go to school, but I'll wait for an honorary PhD or an honorary degree to do it. It's very, very, very few and far in between. So the best course is do your classes, study good grades, get your degree, and then so that is sadhana. Sadhana said. So we try and follow that, and the process is designed to take into account the factors that are withholding us. So another time we'll have a discussion on how, like when we take to Krishna consciousness, we are told to do and not do, and generally we accept it that okay, but each one of them is a very, very carefully thought out process to address the obstacles that would naturally manifest because of our conditioned stage. Getting up in the morning, chanting the rounds, eating the kind of food that we eat, our etiquette that we do. So we follow it externally, but it is made so that it addresses the primary obstacles that are there in our path for devotion. Yeah, good question. Anybody else? Thoughts, comments?
I had one question that's kind of bothering me. Krishna says that only 1 out of millions will pass, out of most of the jivas will fail. And in the class, if the professor comes and tells, hey, out of 100 students, only 1 will pass, 99 will fail, it will be very discouraging to most of them. So it'd be much better to tell, hey, most of you will pass, and they will not fail.
You should be a motivational speaker. So I think it's a good question, Prabhu. So the difference is that the difference is that Krishna is not talking about pass and fail. Krishna is talking about those who take to it and who don't take to it. Now, Krishna says that anybody in any form who takes to the process of bhakti, success is 100% guaranteed. There is no question of failure. He says, if one even chants my name once, even in anger, even in hasya, when the early disciples would do Sankirtan on the streets, so on the 26th 2nd Avenue at that time was mostly an Italian neighborhood, and so they were like meat packers and fishmongers and all that, and they would go and do the kirtan, and they would say, the Hare Krishnas are here, and or they would make fun. They would say Hare Krishna, say Hare Krishna, and Prabhupada would say, see, the devotional life has started now. It's just a matter of time before they will attain perfection. So that is encouraging. But the other part that Krishna is saying, that is just he's stating factuality. That of so many souls, very, very few will take to very few will take to bhakti, right? And we have that experience that so many times, we will tell people that people who are also very intellectually advanced, but for whatever reason they cannot take to it. They will not be able to follow the process. So it's just a matter of Krishna trying to explain to us the way things are. And Prabhupada, in this mood of an acharya, he says that makes it all the more important for us. Because Krishna says that he's happy for a person who takes to the process of bhakti. He's much more happy to a person who encourages somebody else to take to the process. He said nobody is dearer to me than such a person. So Prabhupada also says in his mood of an acharya, this is also an opportunity for us to serve Krishna in that way. Yeah? Thank you. It's a good question. Question, comment? Okay. So verse 4, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and false ego, all together these 8 constitute my separated material energies. This is verse 4. So now Krishna is talking about himself. So he begins with his external manifestation, and he will talk more and more. Of course, he talks very briefly because the description of Krishna, even that is available, is very, very extensive. So he begins by talking about his energies, and so I'll summarize the verses a little bit, and then easier for us to understand it. So Krishna is the supreme person, and Prabhupada would say that just like the CEO of a company, the whole company is running under the will of the CEO, but the CEO himself is not really doing a lot of work. Through various agencies, he puts things into motion, he makes sure that they happen, and then he goes and plays golf. So that's how everybody else is working hard. The workers over there, the managers over there, they're working hard. But they're all working under the will of the CEO, but the CEO is not working hard. He's having a good time. So Krishna, the Krishna's tu Bhagwan Swayam. Krishna is the person, he's always having fun. He's in Vrindavan, he's eating the cooking of Yashoda Mai, he's playing with the cowherd boys, he's consorting with the gopis, he's swimming in the river Yamuna. That is Krishna's business. In the Ashtakali Leela, it's the Acharyas describe what does Krishna do in each of the eight divisions of the day. This time he's sleeping, during this time he goes and he plays with the gopas, this time he does something else. So various activities he does, but there's no work involved. They're all different forms of enjoyment. So all that Krishna is doing, he's doing through his energies. So at a high level, there are three kinds of energies that Krishna has: the Antarangni Shakti, the Bhaharangni Shakti, and the Tathast Shakti. So the Antarangni Shakti is Krishna's spiritual energy. So by his internal energy, he is maintaining and supporting the entire spiritual world. Through his internal energy, he is maintaining his pure devotees in the spiritual world. The Bhaharangni Shakti is the material world. So right now what he is describing is his external energy. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. So the whole material world is composed of these 5 elements. It is by the combination and the recombination of these 5 elements that the whole material world is created. And then he talks about the 3 components of the subtle body: mind, intelligence, and false ego. So these are also jad. So these are also, so it's, we would think that mind is, the mind is the seat of consciousness, right? But mind itself is not consciousness. A body may have a perfectly fine mind, but if the soul is not there, then it will not be able to function. So intelligence is the manifestation of the process in the mind, and false ego is basically how the soul interacts with the material world through the agency of the false ego. So these 8 elements form Krishna's external energy. The third energy of Krishna is the Tathast. And Tathast Shakti is marginal energy, and under that fall the jivas. So we are Krishna's marginal energy. And the reason we are called marginal is because so Tathast in Sanskrit it basically means threshold. Like you're standing at the door, you're neither inside nor outside, but you can go either way. So the jivas are in that position. They can either take shelter of Krishna's Bhairangni Shakti or the material world, or they can take shelter of Krishna's Antarangni Shakti, his spiritual world. So that's why they are known as Tathast. They are on the margin. So jivas like us, we have taken shelter of Krishna's Bhairangni Shakti. We are taking shelter of Krishna's material energy. And the liberated souls, the Siddhas, they take shelter of Krishna's Antaragni Shakti. Next verse. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjun, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of the material inferior energy. So now he's talking about the jivas, the Tatha Shakti, which are superior to the material energy. And because they are superior, they are exploiting it. So so somebody more powerful is not compelled to exploit somebody less powerful. So Krishna is also making this point that this entanglement of the jiva in this material world is not because the material energy is more powerful than the jiva, because the jivas has the desire to be overpowered by that. It's like sometimes when we were children, we play the blind man's buff, whatever it's called. So we basically, we voluntarily, one person will tie that cloth around their eyes and becomes blind. So the person is not blind, but he has voluntarily said, put this thing around me. But once that rag is around the eye, then the person is blind. Then he can't see. He does not have that option then of being able to see it unless he or somebody else removes that blind. So that's the position of the jiva, that the jiva has voluntarily taken the association of the material world. After having taken the association, they become subservient to the material world. But that does not mean that the material energy is more powerful. It just means that I have chosen to take on a subservient position. So Krishna is also revealing to Arjuna the nature of the impediments in understanding him. So Rajneesh Prabhu had asked a question. So before he answers that, he is also in a subtle way revealing that why does the jiva is not able to understand. Forget about Vigyan, even the Gyan. Why is it not available?
In the lecture last Sunday, there were these 6 principles of the Bhagavad Gita, and the first one was choice. Is this the same choice?
This is the same, yes. This was Shaunak Rishi Prabhu, right? Yeah. Next verse. All created beings have their sources in these two natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. So Krishna is firstly, because Arjuna is part of the material world, so are we. So now he is comprehensively describing the material world as his energy. He is saying there is nothing else in the material world except for these two things. There is the jiva, and then there is matter, the 8 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, and mind, intelligence, and false ego. There is nothing else that is there. The only thing else that is there is Krishna, who is the source of all this. So it simplifies the complexities of the material world. When we think of how complicated the material world is, how difficult the interactions are, but essentially when you boil it down, there is just matter, spirit, and Krishna, nothing else. And Krishna says, how do I, because this thing is about Krishna. Krishna says, I am the source and the dissolution of it. Now, both the jiva and prakriti, they are both eternal. So they never come into existence and they are never destroyed. So when Krishna says, I am the source and the dissolution, he is talking about in the context of the material existence. He is talking about in the context of the relationship between matter and spirit here. So he is not saying that I am the source of dissolution, that I will destroy the jivas. He's not saying that I will destroy matter. But empirically we see the creation and dissolution. We see that in our lives. That we take birth and die, we see it around us. We also see that on a larger scale. We see that how planets come into existence and go away, how universes come into existence and go away, how at the end of Brahma's life, the whole material universe gets destroyed. So we see that cycle of birth and dissolution, and all that is being happening because of the presence of Krishna. So how do we understand Krishna's presence? When we look at these activities, when we see somebody taking birth, when we see somebody giving up their body, when we see the changes in our own body, we understand that the source of this is Krishna. Okay, after this.
So Jiva is the essence, has the same essence as Krishna, Satchidananda. Then how come it's not part of spiritual energy, it's part of marginal energy?
It's a good question. The question is that jivas are in terms of composition, they're same as Krishna. So why are they not considered spiritual? Why they're considered marginal? So the difference is that they are kshar. They're very minute. So a roaring forest fire and a spark, the composition is the same. But you can put the spark in your hand and the spark is hidden. You can't do that with the forest fire. So because the jiva is kshar, they are fallible. They can be subdued, they can fall, they can choose to fall. But Krishna is infinite. So Prabhupada gives several analogies of the fire and the spark. He gives the analogy of a drop of water and the ocean, that a drop of water is the ocean. But you can take the drop of water, put it in sand, and it's hidden over there. You can't do that to the ocean. You take sand and put it in the ocean, the sand becomes ocean after that. So that is Krishna's position. Yeah?
The question is, obvious. A lot of the time here you describe jiva as jivatma or jiva or bhuta, jiva bhuta. So is that in jiva there is an atma? So atma and jiva are different or the same when you call jiva atma, living entity?
Yes, so a little bit contextual. Sometimes, or even when I speak, sometimes jiva is the soul.
So no body in that.
Yeah, and sometimes, that's why I say contextual. Sometimes the jiva is embodied soul.
Yeah, that is the basic definition.
Right. So it's more contextual. That sometimes when like Krishna says, Mameva amsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana, so he's talking about the soul at the time. But other parts he'll talk about the jiva as a conditioned soul.
Yeah, embodied soul.
Which means that it is, dehu dehinam, that it's a person who has a body and who's giving the name to the body. So it's an embodied soul. So most of the time the context kind of clarifies.
Because there are a lot of time with confusion, because jiva means the one which has the desire. So it has to be soul which can desire. Because the body cannot by itself desire. So in the jiva, the atma is there. Every jiva has a soul.
Right.
So then the jiva will become only body.
Yeah.
In this context where we're talking about the marginal energy of Krishna, and jiva is the
soul. It's the soul there. Any other thoughts, questions? Okay. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So this is the verse to memorize. Matata paratram na nyat kinchit asti dhananjaya Mai sarvam idam prutam sutre manigana eva. It's a beautiful verse. And in the previous verse, Krishna had said that he was the cause and the dissolution. Now he says that he also maintains. So he's taking care of all three aspects. He creates, he destroys, and he also maintains. And he uses an analogy of pearls. That just like pearls are strung on a thread, he is maintaining everybody. So when you see a necklace, you don't see the thread. All that you see is the necklace. But without the thread, the necklace will not exist. So that is Krishna's position as Paramatma. That by Krishna's presence as Paramatma, everything is sustained. But he is only visible to eyes that are looking through the eyes of scriptures. So I was listening to one of the older classes of Bhayahari Prabhu, Gita classes, where it speaks about the concept of Chakshu Shastra. That we have Chakshu, we have eyes through which we can empirically see, and then Chakshu Shastra is looking through the eyes of the scriptures. So we can look at the whole world and we can see so many phenomenal things that are happening. We can see the laws of gravitation and quantum mechanics and so many other laws that are being followed and maintained. But then we can also look at it through the eyes of scriptures. Then we can look at the sun and we say, okay, this is producing heat and light. And then we can also look at it through the eyes of the scriptures and say that the sun is one of the eyes of Krishna. Sun is bearing witness to all the activities that we are doing. Sun is Vivashvan, the demigod Vivashvan is sun. That we cannot, all that understanding we can't get by looking at the sun. We can get it when we look at it through the eyes of the scriptures. So from verses 8 to 12, Krishna talks about, so he's continuing to talk about his manifestation in the material world. So so I'll summarize these 5 verses and then we'll correlate it back. So what Krishna will say is that if through Sankhya you analyze the material world, it is made up of 23 elements. And in a more poetic way, he will speak in these verses how each of these 23 elements is him. So we'll quickly go over the 23 elements. So we looked at the 5 gross elements that actually create the universe: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Each of these elements have a quality. So the quality of earth is fragrance. Fragrance is perceived by nose. The quality of water is taste. Taste is perceived by the tongue. The quality of fire is form. The form is perceived by the eyes. The quality of air is touch, and the touch is perceived by skin. And the quality of ether is sound, and sound is perceived by the ears. So we have 15 elements over here: earth, water, fire, air, ether, smell, touch, taste, eyes and hearing, and then the 5 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. Right? So we have 15 elements that are over here. Now we have 5 more elements that are called the working senses. So they are hands, legs, sound, anus and genital. So we have 20 now. And then we have 3 elements that form the subtle body: mind, intelligence and false ego. So the material world is composed of these 23 elements. So what Sankhya does is that they look at the material world and they distill out the elements. So they say, okay, this is earth, this is water, this is fire, this is smell, these are the acquiring senses, these are the working senses. The 24th element is Jiva. And then the 25th element is Krishna. So everything that is there is comprised of this 25 elements. So in these 5 verses, Krishna will speak about these 25 elements. And he does not do it because again it's a song, and Krishna always leaves something for us to derive. So he speaks about it more poetically. But if we analyze it, we see that he's talking about these 25 elements. So essentially the point that he's making is that this whole material world is made of these 25 elements, and I am the cause, I am the end, and I am the maintainer of all these 25 elements. So by extrapolation, everything in this material world is coming from me, is being maintained by me, and is being destroyed by me. Yeah. So we'll read the verses. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water. So he's talking about the sense of taste now. I am the light of the sun and the moon. So he's talking about fire. The syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and the ability in men. So Krishna is presenting, so when Krishna talks about his interaction with the material world, he generally talks about it in either the Brahman or the Paramatma form. So when he says that I am the mantra Om, so Om is the Pranav, is the Brahman Pranav. So what does Om represent? The sound Brahman. It is the sound incarnation of Krishna's impersonal form. So when we say Om, we basically are connected to Krishna's impersonal form. So that's, he's presenting himself as the Brahman. He's saying that I am the syllable Om. I am the original fragrance of earth. So this is earth and the quality of smell. I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives. And I am the penance of the ascetics. Penance of the ascetics is the quality of mind. So the ascetics are able to perform a lot of austerities because of the control, their mind controls the senses. So they will stay in cold for a long time, or they will not eat for a long time. So it's not that the body is cooperating. The body is actually rebelling, but it's the mind that is controlling. So the quality that the quality in the ascetics is that they have a very strong control on the mind. So Krishna says, I am the penance of the ascetics. I am the life of all that lives. So this is the jiva. This is the 24th element that he speaks about. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existence, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of the powerful man. So intelligence is one of the subtle mind, intelligence, false ego. Prowess, when he speaks, he talks about the working senses. So the power comes from the hands, the legs, the sound. So he's talking about the working senses. So he says, I am those 5 working senses. I am the strength of the song, devoid of passion. So again, the working senses. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principle. So of the 5 working senses, one of them is the genital. So Krishna is speaking about that. O Lord of Bharats, know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the control, I am not under the modes of nature, for they on the contrary are within me. So then he talks about the 3 modes of material nature. 3 modes of material nature are a manifestation of the false ego. So we said mind, intelligence, and false ego. So he's saying that I am also false ego. And now that he has given the full the description of everything, he wants to clarify. So a person who's reading it might say that if everything is Krishna, then Krishna is also everything, which basically means that giving a material conception to God. So there are some people who say that Krishna was born like anybody else, how can he be God? He died like anybody else, how can he be God? He married, he had children, he fought with enemies, and he was in all kind of intrigue. How can he be God? So Krishna makes this point that even though he is very, very intimately integrated in the material world, but he is not the material world. He is the source of it. He is above all of it, and he may appear to be a part of it, but actually he is not. So very important distinction that Krishna wants to make is that when one reads about Krishna's material energy, one should not interpolate it and say that if Krishna's energy is material, then Krishna is material. And that's why he will also speak about his spiritual energy. Any questions so far? Comments?
In that sense, even the soul is not bound by the material energy. So its soul is, because it's a part and parcel of Krishna's lifetime.
Yeah.
As a soul, it is still independent of the material energy.
Yes.
On the stages, even though he's going through different stages.
Yeah.
And he's feeling whatever because of his mind, energy, and ego.
Yes.
But in a sense, he is not touching anything.
That is true. That is the difference between the soul and Krishna is, like Prabhu was saying, that asking that the soul can get overwhelmed by the material energy. Krishna can never get overwhelmed. The soul can get bewildered by the material energy. Krishna can never get bewildered. But the material and the spiritual energy, they're different. That's why Krishna says that this is a superior energy of mine. Right? It never mingles with the inferior energy. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So now the question comes that so Krishna has basically said that he's everywhere, in everything. So Arjun might say that at the beginning of the chapter, no, he might not say chapter, but he would say that a few verses ago, you said Bhunam Janmanam Nante Jnanaman Mam Prapadyante, that and this is a point that Krishna, this rarity of Krishna consciousness, Krishna makes this point 3 times in this chapter. He will speak after this. He will speak 2 more verses. Same point he will make. So then Arjun would say that you just now said that very few people take to you, but you are everywhere. You are the taste of water. You're the heat in the sun, the heat in the fire, the sun, the light in the sun. You're the progress of men. So why don't people take to you? What's the missing X factor over here? And that's the answer that Krishna will now give in these 2 verses, 13 and 14. He says, deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the mode and inexhaustible. So why don't people know Krishna even though he is everywhere? Because they themselves are conditioned by the modes of material nature. Because they are conditioned, they are not able to see Krishna even though he is abundantly present. So the sun may be in the sky, but if you close your eyes, you will not see the sun. Nothing, regardless of how bright the sun is, regardless of if the sun multiplies and becomes 10 suns, you will still not be able to see the sun. So when the jiva undertakes the shelter of the modes of material nature, then he gets covered by the modes. And because of that, they are not able to see Krishna. Or even if they try to see Krishna, what they think is, just like we are covered by the modes, Krishna is covered by the modes. Just like we are products of the material nature, Krishna is a product of material nature. So many times people have asked me this question, that mostly people, Indian background, they say, how can you worship Krishna? Very loose character person. He was running, he was consulting with other people's wives, and he was doing so much of trickery and there's so many theories about it, that God came as Krishna to show how you should not act. You should not run after other people's wives, you should not run after other women, you should be monogamous, you should not be polygamous. There's so many theories that are basically perpetuated based on this understanding. The reason is because they think that Krishna is like them. That if I would do this, I would be a bad person. And because Krishna is like me, Krishna is also a bad person. Or they would say that Krishna had many girlfriends, I should have many girlfriends. Krishna was cheating, so I should cheat. Once somebody asked this question to Prabhupada, that Krishna had so many girlfriends, should I also have many girlfriends? Prabhupada said, yes, you lift Govardhan Hill and then have as many girlfriends as you want after that. So they extract a certain aspect of his character, but they neglect the fact that when he was a few days old, he killed Putna, he lived Govardhan on the little finger of his left hand. So that is the reason why even though Krishna is present everywhere, he is still invisible. That's the reason why Bhagavad Gita is an open secret. That it is openly available, but that also Krishna says Raj Vidyam Raj Guhyam. He says that this is the king of knowledge, and Raj Vidyam Param Guhyam. He says it is the more Guhyam is secret. It's the biggest secret that is there, because we are protecting ourselves from the availability of Krishna and the knowledge. So the question now, we'll do the next verse, then we'll have the discussion. So this is also a famous verse, Devi Hayesha Gunmai Mamaya Duratiya. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So previous verse Krishna said the reason why you cannot see, people cannot see me is because they are deluded by the three modes of material nature. Now he's saying that this energy is my energy. So Devi Ayesh Devi, that it is my divine energy. Devi Ayesh Gunmai Mamaya Duratya. Very, very difficult to overcome it. So then Arjun might say that, come on Krishna, you have to give me a break over here. Firstly, you're saying that for me to understand you, the biggest impediment is that I'm covered by this material energy. Then you're saying this material energy is my divine energy, very, very difficult for you to overcome. So what's the point in the Bhagavad Gita? What's the point in this conversation? Let me just go to the jungle and do whatever I wanted to do. So then Krishna speaks the second part of the verse, that but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So you see the difference between the adjectives. At one point he says that Devi Aisha Gunmai Mamaya Duratya. He says Duratya is very, very difficult to cross. And then Mayam Eva Tarantete. Tarante means easily you can sail through it. The difference between the two situations is that one who takes shelter of Krishna. In the Bhagavatam, there's a verse that says this whole material existence is like an ocean. You can't find the shores of the ocean. It's like an endless ocean. And with so many jivas, and these are the conditioned jivas, there are so many jivas that are struggling to swim, they're drowning, they are somehow surviving. But for one who has taken shelter of Krishna, that ocean shrinks down to the size of the water that is held in the hoof print of a calf. So it's a poetic description that this whole ocean, that the shores cannot be seen, but one who has taken shelter to Krishna, how much water is there in the hoof print of a calf? How difficult it is to cross over it. You won't even realize that you are crossing over it. So the process is of taking shelter. In Niti Shastra, Chanakya gives this example that of course he was a devotee but a politician also. So
Chanakya, the
Kautilya Niti he gives. So he says that what do you do if you have an enemy that is stronger than you? What do you do? He says you go and fight with that enemy because he's stronger than you. He'll always beat you. And he says that it's not very smart thing to go and get beaten again and again. So he beats you up, and you go back again, he'll beat you up again. You go back again, he'll beat you up again. That's the position that we have with Maya Devi. Every time we go and fight with Maya Devi, 100% she will win. There's, we are all aspiring spiritualists. At different points of time, we must have taken different kinds of vows. We'll do this, we will make our life better. Maya Devi always beats us in the end. So then Chanakya says what to do? He says only one way to defeat that envy. Make friends with somebody who's more powerful than the enemy. Then the next time when you go with your friend. Right? You say, like, when I was in school, my brother is 5 years older to me. So and I was always the smallest kid, so I'd go with my brother. My brother would beat up the kids there. Now, unfortunately, we had only 1 year, because when I joined the school, he passed out from the school. But that 1 year was very good. He would get food from different people's tiffins and give it to me. And now, of course, the downside was when he went away, they all came back, and I was without protection for a while there. Eventually, I learned to take care of myself. But you see the difference that there's somebody to protect you. Then the enemy may be more powerful than you, but you're happy. You don't care. Prabhupada gives the example of a child is in a mela, and the whole mela is crowded. The child is holding on to the finger of his father. Only thing that he knows is that finger. Doesn't know anything else. Doesn't know there are 12 exits and 5 fire exits, and doesn't know where the car is parked. Doesn't know nothing. All that he does is he holds on to the finger of his father. Everything is taken care of. So all we need to do is to hold on to Krishna's finger. Everything is taken care of. All the complexities, all the power of Maya Devi, all of that is immediately diminished to the size of the hoof print of a calf. Any thoughts, comments?
Chanakya was a devotee?
He was a devotee. He was he was a politician, but he was a devotee. So there are some other writings of Chanakya that are more devotional. So in the previous set, Krishna has talked about why people don't surrender to him. How can they surrender to him? Now he will illustrate with examples. What kind of people surrender to him? What kind of people do not surrender to him? So because he's speaking in the material world, he'll first speak about the people who do not surrender to him.
I guess people surrender because they feel more secure, Like you said, the example of finger, I think that was very powerful for example.
It is, and once you surrender, then Krishna takes care of so many things that we try to take care of ourselves. So it's also, so Prabhupada would say that, he would quote, I forget the Bengali proverb, that the translation is that a devotee, he says, Bade chatur bhai, that a devotee is very clever. That he sees all this work to be done, he says too much work. Right? So he says Krishna. all that is done. Of course, we don't approach in that mode, but the important thing is that we hold to Krishna, and there's so many things. Just living life is so difficult, right? So many things going on. Our gas stove is not working. Our toilet is not working. So many things that keep happening. We have so many kinds of insurances, so many kinds of protection. All of them are because we anticipate all this happening. We know that all this will happen. We spend our mind and our thoughts worrying about it. So all of that can go away.
What is the practical meaning of holding Krishna's finger?
Practical meaning is taking shelter of Krishna. Is the first anga of Sharanagati is following instructions, is doing what Krishna asks you to do. So Krishna says, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam. So you chant Krishna's name. And there are further, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has this nice set of essays on Sharanagati. He has this set of prayers there in the also, the different types of different aspects of surrender. But the first aspect of surrender is following the instruction. Otherwise, surrender is meaningless, right? I surrender to you, and then you say, okay, Bhayahari, you do this. And not really. I don't think so. But I'm surrendered to you. Take care of all this. I say, can you do this? Not really. Not. So that's not surrender, right? Now you may say, ask me to do something. I may do it imperfectly, but it's okay. At least I'm surrendering to your instruction. You're right. At least I have that nishtha that I need to do what you're asking me to do. So we were having this discussion last week also, that surrender does not mean perfection. It does not mean that we chant perfect rounds. It does not mean that every time we read Bhagavad Gita we understand it perfectly. It does not mean that we stand in front of the deities and do perfect deity worship. That's not surrender. Surrender is, Krishna says chant, chant. He said chant to the best of your ability, we chant to the best of our ability. Yeah? So 4 kinds of people. He says, those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are the lowest amongst mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender to me. So 4 kinds of people. Even though he's saying 4 kinds of people, these are also 4 propensities. We'll see all 4 of them in ourselves. So, namam dushkritana mudha. So the first is mudha. So mudha is foolish. So these are people who are overly materialistic. So basically they say everything in this life is me getting some more material opulences. They don't surrender to Krishna. Why? Because they're busy. They're busy trying to get the second car, or get the second $1 million, or get the second mansion. So Krishna says they're mudhas. Mudhas means that they're foolish because they work very hard for something that will eventually go away. And even what they get does not really give them pleasure. So that's why he says they're foolish. Foolish like children. Sometimes children go to the store and they ask for a piece of candy, and to them it's the most important thing. If you don't get the candy, they'll throw tantrums, and until they get that candy, their whole life is put on hold there, right? Because they're children. That's what they think about. So they're a class of people who completely their whole life is focused around material achievement. So Krishna says they are mudhas. Then prapadantya naradhama. So naradhama is the lowest of mankind. So these are atheist people. So these are people who simply say that there is no God. And the reason they say there is no God is because they do not want to face the responsibility of accountability. Because the moment you accept the presence of God, then you are accountable. That you do good things will happen to you. You do bad things will happen to you. If there is no God, there is no accountability. It's laissez-faire. Anything that I do is fine. I want to do this, I want to eat this, it's fine. I want to drink this, it's fine. I want to kill this person, it's fine. So these are the kinds of people who are atheists. Krishna calls them naradhama. Then maya partha jnana. Maya partha jnana is those whose intelligence is covered. So these are mental speculators, jnanis. So these are people like Richard Dawkins or Stephen Hawking, who basically very, very intelligent people, and they use their intelligence to deny the existence of God. So, or if they don't deny the existence of God, they question the existence of God. The interesting thing about a lot of these people, even people like Dawkins and Stephen, is that they never deny the existence of God. They just question the existence. Especially Hawkins. He says that there may be a God, but I don't know. So if I don't know, and then he goes to a lot of technical details. If I don't know anything, how can I accept it? If you can't prove it to me, I can't accept it, right? And Dawkins actually he goes through Dawkins, I think. Dawkins he goes through a more hypothetical approach of that the intelligence in Earth was seeded by a higher intelligence, extraterrestrial intelligence. And then somebody asked him, where did that extraterrestrial? He said, some other intelligence seeded it. So the question is, at some point, somebody seeded the original seeders, which he says I don't know about, so I can't talk about. So, but these are the people who are who because of their intellectual acumen come up with all kinds of speculative theories, and in a way they are more dangerous because they have a lot of followers. So such people, because people are attracted to the opulence of intelligence. So if I say something, maybe person won't listen to it. If Einstein said something, then people will definitely listen to them, because it's Albert Einstein speaking, because he has an opulence of intelligence. Now Einstein, of course, was a devotee in a way. He accepted the existence of God, but there are many other people who, in that area who will not, and they misguide a lot of people. So they are Maya Partha Jnana and Asuram Bhav Ashrita. So Asuram Bhav Ashrita is the people who have the mood of the Asuras. Asuras are the demons. So these are the impersonalists. So because the main motivation of the Asuras is to kill Krishna, and that's what the impersonalists do. They deny the existence of Krishna as a person. They kill the body of Krishna. They say there is an energy, there is something somewhere, we are part of that energy, the energy is part of us, but they will not accept Krishna as a person.
Okay, we are out of time.
Don't you have to do offering? Oh, you've done that? Okay. So actually then we can do it. The two verses actually go together, but we can do it next time, the two verses. So while the children are coming, is there any comments?
So, we started off by saying a devotee and a non. So, who is a devotee? Who do you define as a devotee?
So Rupa Goswami says that, and he says that on the strength of Hari Bhakti Vilas, one who accepts the position of Krishna, he should be considered as a devotee. So there's not there's not much stipulation in terms of what is the person doing, but more in terms of where is the person situated, because everything else follows automatically. So if a person believes in Krishna, then he'll be like, okay, Krishna, what do you want me to do? That follows, and then and then from that, Krishna's representatives comes into the picture, taking shelter of the representative. Krishna says that if you have to follow me, come through a guru. So then the other things follow. But the basic understanding of one who accepts the position of Krishna should be considered to be a devotee. Yeah?
This is the exclusion of the rest of the four. The four, which is I think millions of people.
Yes.
And then there's the one who is fortunate to get the mercy and be a devotee, is what you just described.
So this is that limited, the very rare.
And all this four categorization that we talked about, who are not able to do it. So this quality, that is the fifth one, which is representing very small percentage.
Right. So the next verse, Krishna talks about four kinds of people who are devotees.
Okay.
So that basically the common thread that will come out is, so they take to Krishna in different ways. Somebody takes to Krishna artharto jigyasi, will take that Krishna, give me money, I need money. But the difference between the Mura and that person is saying, I will that aham karta aham bhogi, I will do it and then I will enjoy. That person is saying, Krishna, you're so rich, give me some money. right? So at least he's going to Krishna. So they are Mishrat Bhaktas, Sakam Mishrat Bhaktas. They're going with full of desires. Their devotion is mixed with material desires. But where are they going? They're going to Krishna. They're going to Krishna with faith. They're not saying, Krishna, okay Krishna, while you're working on it, Ganesh, can you look at it? And maybe while Ganesh is eating laddus, Lord Shiva, can you look at it? So that's not faith, right? That's just being opportunistic, right? But if a person has faith in Krishna, even if he goes with material desires, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Shishupal was killed, then Yudhishthira witnessed the soul of Shishupal entering into Krishna's lotus feet. And Yudhishthira turned to Narad Muni and said, how can this be possible? Shishupal, even before he learned how to speak, he learned how to curse Krishna. So he said when children speak in like their stammering way, which is considered to be very sweet, he used to curse Krishna before he had learned to speak. And through the rest of his life, that was his life's main thing. And then Narad Muni was saying, but who was he cursing? Who was he thinking about for the rest of his life? So yena prakyena, somewhere, one way or the other, whether out of anger, whether out of fear, whether out of lust, you think about Krishna, Krishna will eventually take you back to it.
Same example of people in New York cursing Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, right. Yeah. Even they don't realize it, Prabhupada would say that journey back to Godhead has already commenced. It's already beginning. They may take one lifetime, they may take 1 million lifetimes, but the journey has already started. Because Agyat Sukriti. Without knowing it, they have acquired that Sukriti, the benevolence of Krishna, and that thing never goes away. All other Sukriti that we give something in charity. Next time we may win a lottery, that Sukriti is gone, right?
Reminds me of that story where there was this dacoit or somebody who kept saying Mara, 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 and became Ram, Ram, Ram.
Valmiki.
Valmiki.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll have some kirtan. I'll close this one.